Welcome everyone to Pommy and Oz. Hope we're all doing absolutely fantastic this Monday, ARBOR. And obviously today's the review, the fan corner, my favourite time of the year, the time of year, time of week. I don't know what I'm doing with my art either. Time of week that I get to spend a bit of time with you guys and girls, my favourite time, and I get a little bit of feedback from you. So obviously it's the 36-point win for the Bluebaggers, 90-54 versus the GWS Giants at Marvel Stadium, which is, what's that? That's 7 out of 8 now at Marvel, isn't it, from memory? 6 out of 7. We've only lost one, though, at Marvel this year. It's been a fantastic, it was a real fantastic second half, we'll say. Total control. And to be honest, you could say for 4 quarters we were never really in doubt, was it really? There was that first quarter where they kind of took the lead and Carlton wrestled it back, finished the term well. It was a seesaw affair in the second quarter, which seems to be Voss's stabilising quarter, doesn't it? It seems to be that is where he is now. He likes to stabilise it. Then after that, Carlton really got on top. They really hit the contest hard, spread from the contest exceptionally well. And in the end, it was a resounding win where Carlton really were in cruise control, probably from about 10 minutes into the third, which it is very good. Now, for me, I wouldn't say it was the best win. I know some people have said it's the worst win, but I think if you actually look into it in detail, it was comprehensive. They weren't troubled. They got out of it. There was a few injury scares, wasn't there? They got out of it. The strive for perfection. The road is never ever conquered, as they say. You've just got to keep on keeping on. And I thought the boys really did. It was good to see a team really look for it in an endeavour and really take the game to them. And GWS, it was they will have learned more in this than the Eagles game. The Eagles game for me was really, it was men versus boys in the second half, and they won't have learned anything other than they can run over a side. But as we said in the review then, that kind of football you have to be allowed to play. And this is a good little test for them because you'll never have a game like this in the finals. GWS flooded the back of the contest, flooded the back of stoppages, flooded the defence. In a final, you ain't going to do that. No side does. In finals, you'll have like that famous Collingwood-Richmond final. After that, when they were the flag winners, Richmond and Collingwood came out. Mason Cox went mental. Teams go for it. Teams are going to open up. So when it gets to finals, you won't even remember that game because that game doesn't have an iota on it. Because if you go into finals looking to defend, you're going home. You're going home. But let's have a look at what you guys and girls said, because we'll get into the review and we'll get into why I'm a bit confident after that in a bit more detail. Louis and Bowie, good day to you. Recent commenter on the channel, so fantastic for that. Good workman like win. I like that. Workman. I like that. Working class man myself, so I rate that. Nothing to get excited about, but it's a sign of a good side. Even when you're not playing at your best, spot on, still get you in. And it was very contentious in that first quarter, wasn't it? The kicking efficiency was really down, which seems to be a staple of Voss's game. And that was mainly down to movement. The kicking efficiency for Carlton, it takes them a while to adjust. And I'm kind of excited because when you take away that space, Carlton have imploded literally every game this year. This week, they adjusted in-game very quickly and really stuck to their task. And a huge shout out to Lockie O'Brien, Matt Cottrell and Setterfield there, because they kept their width. They didn't get drawn in. You saw Will Hayes last week, he got drawn in. Noons gets drawn in sometimes. Cherry gets drawn in. Walsh does as well when he plays on the wing. Having 3 guys really committed to stay on the width allowed us to spread from the contest. So I agree with you. When the mark of a professional, mark of a top player, Federer is a great example. When he's not quite on, he can still get the job done. And that is a real exciting thing. These are the games that Carlton would have lost a few moons ago. We've got to remember that. So, spot on. Love that. Thank you very much for your comment. Let's have a look what we got next. Saras boy, good day to you, my friend. What did you make of McGovern's game? Feel like he needs another week or two to really find his groove. I think that's really fair, more than fair there, Saras boy. But let's have a wee look at my boy McGovern. 80% disposal efficiency this week, 2 spoils, 7 defensive pressure acts, 5 intercept possessions. The 1 score launch with the 2 score involvements, which is very good, the 1 score launch as well. That's what you're looking for. The top players average anywhere above 1 and above, so not bad when you're first coming in. Marks, 7 marks, brilliant reading and flight, 7 and 4 intercept marks, 1 on 100% win ratio, wasn't beaten, and 2 1%ers. And it really did show you, particularly in the back end of the first when Carlton gained ascendancy. In the third, where Carlton really run up the numbers as well, really run up the numbers in intercepts, which we'll talk about a bit later. He was a key component in that. That is the thing that separates the top 6 from the next 6. Their ability to turn opposition's attack into their own attack. Basically feed them their own food, as it's called. He was a key part of that, and it's very exciting that we've got him in. And if he can stay fit, Carlton will go deep into the finals, because that is the kind of player you need in the finals. So I really enjoyed Mitch's game. It was great to see him back. Great question, Sir Boy, as always. Mate, Mitch McGovern, great to have you back. Now, this question is a plethora. Majority. Michael McCurry, good day to you, my friend. How are you? Regular commenter. I think we're going to see the magic manage word come up after the efforts. Ploughman, Honey, not so easy to make way for PeterV, Owens and Marchbank. Big selection decisions go baggers. Is Peter Vlahos, good day to you. Another commenter all the time. Peter and Owens comes in. Who goes out? Can we still play Peter TDK Sauce on the same side? SC Gav, g'day, great win. We stuck to our structure, ground them down, but we're getting to the pointy end. I think we need more from our small forwards. Honey was okay. Don't think he takes his chances. I think Owens is a lock when fit. Love Mott, but does he need a spell? Thoughts? Before today, I thought Cottrell would. Unlucky, have to make way for Peter. Not sure. We need 3 wingers. Who makes way? Good question. Mark, who comes out for Peter, and what structure do we fit Marchbank in? Can Peter, De Koning, Silvani play together? I'm a fan of all 3. Perhaps it means Fisher or Walsh become a full-time wingman. I think that's a great call. I think for me, to bring Peter in, you'll probably lose one of Honey's and Motlop, without a shadow of a doubt. Always, I think that could be an interesting one. Does he then take the other one out, knowing he brings the defensive pressure, which Carlton had banked very, very high in, over Durden, who did in the first half get real lost, but in the second half really lived at Mackay's feet, and you saw the benefit of it. And he gives that job to maybe a Cottrell at high half forward, who spent a lot of time at high half forward this week. So I think that could work. So I think it'll be somewhere between there. So I would expect that if Owens is fit, he probably plays VFL game 1. So I don't think it'll be an immediate thing. I think that they'll do that. Peternet, Silvani and De Koning can play together. We've seen that in the early stages of the season when Peternet's fit. It also adds a huge plus for Carlton, because then you can lose a half forward, because Jesus will spend 95% of the time there, as he did pre-injury. So I think Peternet's a lock. I really do think that the person who will come out for that will be one of Honey and Motlop. I would personally lean towards Motlop at this stage, purely because I think that he's had more AFL game time and we've got a better catchment of what he can work on, and it's no judgment on him. I wouldn't be against Durden coming out. I know he snagged that goal and he was very good towards the end, but again, I want him to work on staying in the forward half of the ground. Sometimes in the transition, he gets caught in that team defence, and the old soccer saying, don't go up for a corner if you can't get back. Don't go and defend if you can't get back up top forward. It's a very important thing that if you're leaving your position. So 2 things that they could massively work on there. Also, Honey's got things to work on, really making himself available in that half forward, which he was very good this week for, I will say. It was good. So to answer you guys' questions, Peternet for me comes in. Marchbank for me needs 3 games minimum VFL. He hasn't played 2 consecutive games, full games, in about 3-4 years. So again, massive limited minutes this week. Play the full game this week. Play the game after that. We'll readdress it then for me. Really do it. Keep that. But for me, yeah, always needs 1 VFL game. It's a long time out. 2-3 games is a long time out for doing that. Really getting your eye in. So depends how he pulls up at training. But for me, I'd like to see them manage through. Same with Jack Martin as well. Really want to see him in the VFL and get some blood in the legs. This is a great question from Jamie. Do you think we're ready for finals? a few games in recent weeks, and I don't think we're clinical enough to put teams away or handle pressure too well. Would love your thoughts on how we travelled in finals. Paul, let's be honest, we didn't play well throughout the game. In my opinion, what do we expect to come out in the next coming weeks, as we have 3 massive games that potentially put us out of the 8? Do you think the boys will be mentally prepared to face a challenge? As for out of the 8, we're 2 games clear with 4 games remaining. The statistics of us not making the 8 now are the same statistical probability if you have of finding an alien in your back garden. Adelaide coming up, Collingwood coming up towards the end. 2 very winnable games and 2 games that you'd suspect. Carlton are probably 1 win in reality away. As I said when we did our predictor with TPI a couple of weeks ago, this nonsense of 14 wins to make finals and stuff ain't going to happen. 200 years of AFL history almost, and you can pretty much see what happens in finals, and it's starting to pan out that way with how things are going. So for me, I think we hold up in finals, and we'll tell you for why, right? If you bring these, we'll merge these questions so you've got a really good understanding. Richard Brownlow, small forwards are not applying enough possession and pressure, not positioned well enough to crumb teams, are playing tall defensively and double teaming Colonel and Mackay. Do you think we need to refold our structure at forward? If Peter comes back, will they allow TDK and Sauce to play the third tall? Spot on, mate. I think they will. Absolutely. And I have a dream. Looking forward to Carlton playing a more offensive game plan when Peter returns. I love these questions, so keep all these in mind because we're going to go really in depth for these ones, my friends. All of you are regular comments, so let's have a look at the first one. All right, so this is really important, this, in terms of forward pressure. So inside 50, we were 23% of the time made up a goal this week. 19.2 for the year. That makes us 7th. Number 1 is 26.7. Now, if you take the anomalies out there, because Carlton are the only side in the top 15 that have a horrific anomaly in the terms of where it's negative. A lot of these teams have higher ones above us, particularly 3 teams have ones where they nearly went at 40%, which is unsustainable. It's unsustainable. Carlton against St Kilda was a big one, but if you take away the anomaly, Carlton are really 1 good game away from being there. So, like, Carlton, literally, it isn't much. It isn't much. But Carlton's efficiency inside 50 can be attributed to a few things. Jesus was one of our leading guys there. Lockie O'Brien has really shot that statistic up. This week, again, another 40% of inside 50s becoming targets inside and goals. So that's a huge thing. That's the width factor. That's something that he's added in very recently in the last 6 things. So as that gets a bit more structured, when you've got Jesus as well, he went at about 33% a couple of years ago playing at high half forward, that changes the whole dynamic. But ranked 7th is still pretty healthy. That's the happy place. Marks inside 50, Carlton are currently 8th. Rank 1 is, it's just hidden on the screen there, but it's 264. There is another little issue. It's just them entries inside 50, but still ranked 8th, which flag sides have won, being in the top 8. Genuinely, the secret is being in top 10 for most of your key stats, which that is one of them, is this. But this is where we get into the real ones, right? So, tackles inside 50, 200 so far, ranked 2nd in the AFL, ranked 3rd for our pressure rating in the AFL. Number 1 is 1 ahead of us. That is Geelong. So that's a huge factor there, and bearing in mind that we've had one of our best guys in not playing, that's Owens, who's one of the who is top 3 in the league, tackles inside 50. Inside 50 to chance creation, right? 43.2, right? That's a huge one. Carlton currently ranked 10th in the AFL, but you can see 46.9 is that. So it's real tighter than a duck's arse, and that changes almost every week as well, dependent. So Carlton, if they had a 50 next week and everyone did their average, they would be up to 5th. So it's a very close one. And then efficiency inside 50, very interesting stat. Carlton are ranked 9th in the AFL with 47.2, 1st in that. So that's a big thing there, goal kicking. And that's it. Harry was guilty of a lot, and it's very interesting that if Harry and Charlie had maximised their opportunities and Josh Honey in that first half, that would have been a 5-goal lead. Carlton would have we'd be looking at this, winning that one by 60. That is something that they've got to iron out, and I think that's a very iron-outable thing. So a lot of these stats are warped at times by Carlton's poor kicking efficiency, but it's way above the average and the median of AFL, which is really important because the other numbers that we have are so high up. So as for the forwards, there's a little bit of work to do, and I think that is with personnel. But for me, not something I'm worrying about. Now, the game plan is really, really interesting for me. So let's have a quick look at this game plan. So Carlton's ground balls this week were 102, right? 39 plus. Now that is a huge sign there of your intensity and your ability to be strong around the ball and really, really take the game on and really look to be a strong, strong side. Double second efforts, third efforts. You heard David Teague a long time ago talk about ground ball gets. It is a very key ingredient if you are winning games like that. It's not a key ingredient if you're not using anything. Now, these ones are really important. I want you to really take a bit of time to get your head around these. Stoppage and clearance, right? This week, 51 points from stoppage and clearances. 38 points from its forward half. Now, take into mind that a lot of people are saying our midfield got dominated. They didn't. They lost the clearance by the skin of teeth. Do you know what I mean? It was a very, very tight affair. When you look at the total stoppages and clearances, I'll give you them numbers so we're comparing apples with apples, as it were. But the clearance numbers, the stoppage clearances were 25 to 26. Carlton lost it by 1. Centre clearances, we lost it by 4. That's 5 negative in there. To get them numbers from there shows something huge. Now, why has that changed? Well, two things are going to change that. When PeterV's in there, that's a huge thing because a lot of them clearances we lost were from TDK being bodied. But also, this is an important one next, the turnovers. 37 points resulting from turnover. 27 in the second half, with a large majority of them being midfield turnovers. And Carlton turned over 5, incidentally, the difference in clearances of clearances. So as soon as they cleared it, we got the ball back. So there's a reason for that. And we're going to jump down to the bottom one. Post clearances, 91 plus 24 for the day with 30 uncontested marks. Now, this is a really important stat. And I want everyone to really focus on this. Dimmer and Clarkson made a huge note of post clearance stats. Post clearance stats are potentially some of the most important, really probably some of the most important stats. And what that is, really, is the difference when the ball is won in dispute. So do you know what I mean? It's won in dispute and away. It's a measurement of getting it away from problems. So really, it's almost the ingredient for your spread. It's a very important thing, and it's something that Carlton they really focus on in the AFL. They really, really focus on, because what it does is it feeds your outside players. That's it. So you're looking for your spread. Now, that is something that Carlton have really struggled with, and that is why the Demons put a lot with Choco last year. That is huge. Now, you will get your clearance numbers up with the right personnel, but if your post clearance is very high, and then you're generating uncontested marks off the back of that, you are pretty much unbeatable, right? And that is the newest layer of Voss's system, that we've started to see these numbers rise steadily. These are real strong numbers, real strong numbers. And then the inside 50, 23% of our I-50 is made up of goal, 19.2 for the year, like we said, ranked 7th. But really, really interesting numbers there. So to answer your question, do I think we hold up in finals? 200% yes. Them numbers are very, very exciting. And two numbers that I really want you to get really excited about. Do you know what I mean? Really excited about in that avenue. So thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for the questions, boys and girls. You're all regular comments on the channels, and I saw here as well, Cameron, this didn't quite fit on the screen, but he asked the same. So hopefully that answers your questions, gents. Thank you very much for them. Then we've got, hey guys, just a quick one from me. I will be on the Jumper Punch tomorrow evening, so make sure you watch that on Blue Abroad with the Italian boys. It's a great caper. And also, can you do me a huge favour? I'll give you 3 seconds to hit that like button, hit the subscribe, turn the notification bell on, and if you do want to, you can become a member of the channel. We do wonderful things. Sponsor Shangar, sponsor Domaku. So if you want to do that, I'll give you 3 seconds. 3, 2, 1. Let's go back to the video. Then we've got Mickey D. Good day to you, mate. Big friend of the channel. Review Ploughman's stats for today. I thought it was very good. Does McGovern make Ploughman a better Ploughman? Well, Ploughman really this week had just a very simple game. Now, interesting enough, 3 of the intercept marks that that Mitch McGovern got, this guy shepherded the guy that McGovern was on. So this is where a lockdown kind of probably gets a little bit more gloss, per se, if you know what I mean. And I think it's going to be very interesting when Z-Will's fit and McGovern, because I think they'll be breathing down this, because I think McGovern can do this job as well, but also be an intercepts threat himself. But he's got to get fit. So at the moment, you're probably looking at Ploughman. He's sowing the seeds of this game. 100% disposal efficiency. He had 1 scrub kick that managed to go to someone. So if we're going to pick fault, it's there. But 2 spoils, 5 defensive pressure acts, 10 intercept pauses, 0 tackles, 4 marks, 1 intercept mark. Didn't have any one-on-one outs, 1 score launch, and 4 1%ers. Real steady game, and for me, this is where you kind of will notice him less and less, because you've now got offensive stats to look at. So, for me, the R word comes into play again. Role player. Role player. And in that midfield and how it's set up, when the midfield does what it does, Ploughman is more than fine, will do his job day in, day out. And he will be picked. He will be picked. Whether you like it or not, he will be picked until there is a better option available. And at the moment, there is no one in the Magoos that's anywhere close to what he is. So, that who does what he does. So, do you know what I mean? I've seen some comments out there, oh, why is Ploughman playing, bring Dow in? If Carlton go back to the David Teague method of picking the best VFL player and then dropping the worst AFL player and fuck off whatever position they're doing and you just bring him in, we'll start going back to being bottom 4. The reason we're top 10, the reason that we're well in the 8, we've got a chance of 4 still, is because we're picking best players for best positions. So for me, there is no one else who can do Ploughman's job. The 3 guys who potentially can. The first one loose, Kemp. More of a McGovern, to be honest, but could come in. Second guy, who's AFL ready, Z-Will. And you play, he has a few intercept possessions himself. He's a pretty wily competitor. He doesn't mind going on the tolls because he can get in front of them. Very, very strong. Newman then can rotate and you get the ball use. So you've got a different role for the same role. Or Marchbank. And Marchbank at the moment has just come back. After another injury, after a long layout, after another injury, after a long layout. So at the moment, give him some love. Good game. Do you know what I mean? It was a good game. So there we are. There's the Ploughman love for the week, so people can get off my case. Then we've got Paul Black. I love Saad's game as well. Hope we can get the job done again next week. I'm just so proud of the boys. It's nice to win. Cheers for the watch along. Absolutely my pleasure, Paul, mate. Lovely, lovely comment. Jamie, Saad's best game. Hey, look, I used my enunciation there. He does things no one else can do. Fire. That mark was spectacular, wasn't it? And Chris Lang, good day to you, mate. How are you? Hey, Pommy. I think Saad has been criminally underrated this season. Can you compare him to the best halfbacks in the league and see where he ranks? Do better than that, Chris, mate. Hey, do you know what I mean? Whatever you want, your wish is my command. So let's have a wee look. So here we are. First, we've got his stats for the game. So 92% efficiency, 1 spoil, 9 defensive pressure acts, 8 intercept posies, 1 score launch, 6 score involvements, 12 marks, 5 intercept marks, 2 tackles and 4 rebound 50s. And just to bring Ploughman into this a little bit, this is why you can afford to play a lockdown. Just imagine when that's Marchbank, or imagine when that's Z-Will, and you've got another creative threat there, who both are very good ball users in their own right. It's a very exciting time, but just keep that in mind, that's probably why Voss doesn't mind playing a pure role player, as he keeps calling him. He keeps using that R word. So, Saad, phenomenal. For me, one of the best halfbacks in the competition by a mile. He's very strong, very good defensively, and very, very good at breaking problems up. And I would say that, you know the term downhill skier? I would say this guy's an uphill skier. Because you watch when Carlton are struggling, this guy stands out. And if you were doing Brownlow votes for when Carlton are under the quagmire, Adam Saad would without a doubt lead that Brownlow vote. Now what we'll look at now is, as you asked, how does the halfback flanks rank with the other halfback flanks? So what we've taken here is the 4 guys, and I think they'll cheat and they'll start cramming some of these in the back pocket, as they often do, is the guys who play the similar role, give or take. But these are the guys that the press have named, where Saad's been named across the halfback line or the back pocket, and the guys that potentially could usurp. So as you can see there, they're all their key data points you look for from a halfback flank, in the terms of that when you're scouting what you're looking for from your halfback flanker, what kind of things you're looking for. These are the key stats, right? So as you can see, 90% of them are green. Dacos is now starting to get a bit more midfield time, so that kind of warps his. But this rating at the end is kind of, if you've played FIFA, TPI used to do a point figure. We've turned that into a flat rating out of 100. So this is just this year, bearing in mind. So as you can see, some defensive stats for Jack Sinclair are a little bit just below the AFL average and the norm for players that are playing that position. The top 7%. So Jack Sinclair, 87 rating. 94, Jordan Dawson, so we're saying he's a lock. Nick Dacos, 79, very good for a first-year player, and also he gets punished for being a first-year player because we haven't got anything to offset it against. And then Saad and Doc, 90 and 91, very neck and neck. So that basically means Carlton have the best half-back combination in the league. So at the moment, based on these metrics as a pure small-medium half-back flank, Saad and Doc are 2 and 3 in the league. And Dawson, obviously, you've got to remember as well, a lot of ball in that inside 50. So a lot of them numbers, particularly them rebound 50s and intercept marks, are a little bit warped. If you scale that back, Jordan Dawson is an 89. If you actually deduce the inside 50s against to Carlton's and redo that, he's an 89, which would then say that we've got number 1 and number 2. So hopefully that answers your question, boys. Thank you very much for your question, Paul. Thank you very much for your question, Chris. So thank you very much, guys. Then we get on to some exciting ones. My mate Faz tuning in on Wednesday to see his lovely mug. Always a pleasure. Has Setterfield cemented his spot in the team with that performance? I'd love to see him back it up. But also, he goes against the big guns in a few weeks. Exactly, it's now's the time to test that kind of theory, because I still think the wing is a contentious position, particularly when you saw Walsh this week play a lot more on the ball. Chera has a lot more on the ball. Gives Voss some little questions to ask, because he really got the best out of Walsh. But you started to see a little bit more out of Chera in a way as well when he went on the ball. So that whole spreading them in the wing doesn't quite work as effectively. So Setterfield really has a position. And Brian, good day to you, regular commenter on the channel and very astute. How about playing him as a wing half forward once Peter comes to the side? You see, I don't mind it, because that may be something. Now, Cottrell's got that job at the moment. Will Voss take it off him? I'm not too sure he will straight away, but I wouldn't be surprised at all. So let's have a look at Setterfield's game this week. Also DH, he asked as well, did he hold off enough to hold off my boy Nooms? Let's have a look. I think he did, to be honest, and I'm not against it. He did play up the ground, down behind the ground, the defensive half back as well, which he likes to rotate that through. Voss does. It's a very Voss thing. 24 touches, 83.3 disposal efficiency, 3 inside 50s, 2 rebound 50s, 2 tackles, 8 marks, 9 scoring involvements, 1 goal, 9 pressure acts, 258. It's basically it's Nooms' best game, isn't it? And played the Nooms role. For me, it's much of a muchness. I'd rather have Setterfield have it. He's younger. Do you know what I mean? He probably suits the bill. One thing that is very noticeable at him over Nooms is his give and go. He gives the handball and he shepherds. Very Ed Langdon-esque. If you remember when we did the wing series, we talked about how Ed Langdon uses the handball quite a bit. Something that Setterfield really brought into his game. And I liked it. I really liked it. And if he can be committed and hold his width like that, really helps Carlton out with them post clearance gets and things like that. So, yeah, spot on, gents. I thought we'll see him again. What's our best method of transitioning the ball from kick-ins and deep 50s? Very interesting, this one. Very interesting. So, we find that Carlton's best, most attacking method is they actually go short first. And you'll see that Saad usually takes the kick in to about halfway between fullback and centre half back and runs on and gets that extra 20 metres, run and bounce, and clicks it down the wing. If he can do that or kicks it through the corridor, Carlton are a lot better. The other way, he's going very short and then switching it and going down the wing. So that is something you saw a lot in our D50s this week, and it was very successful. The switch is probably the two most underrated things with Carlton, underused things, are the switch and the corridor kick. And that switch to the corridor kick is deadly, and it's something that, if you remember when we talked about, St Kilda and how they transition the ball, it's very something that St Kilda do, that they go diagonal, and that's something that Carlton need to look doing. So for me, Jeff, to answer your question, that is just this week, particularly you saw it. When Carlton gets stuck in that long bomb down the wing, it becomes very stagnant. They get a lot of rebound inside 50s. But to answer your question, that's traditionally how Carlton like to move it when it's going well. It's that short kick from the kick in particularly, and then Saad runs on, gets the extra metres, and then he's got the option to either go through with the handball, which we saw a few times, or take the game on. So playing to your strengths, run and carry really, playing to your strengths. Ash24, good day to you, regular comment on the channel, and an all-round good guy. What is up with Wheaters? His past 3 games have been well below his standard. Let's have a look at Wheaters, because I didn't mind his game this week. 93.3 touches, 5 spoils, 0 defensive pressure, 3 intercept posies, 9 marks, 0 intercept marks, score involvements too, 100% one-on-ones though, 6 1%ers. For me, I just think it's probably a sign of one young building. This week, I think he had a very easy job in the terms of that McGovern was there, so he did a lot of the intercept possessions, and he was really just taking tolls and leading them into channels. Very understated role. What Wheaters does is that he is one of the few defenders that leads forwards into positions that they're very ineffective, and he did that very well this week. Incredibly well. You didn't really see their forwards, and in the end they had to bring Libbojrjr up top in the 4th, so very important role. Probably still a little bit under the weather. It was a big knock, got another knock this week. Incidentally, I actually thought he defended even better after the knock. So for me, I think he's a victim of his own high standards, but also it's a very rhythmical thing, and the back line has probably given a bit more responsibility as well to Mr. Young. So he's building. He's still rated pretty good for everything. So it's a bit like when we say Cripper's down. He's still in the top 10 for the league. So yeah, building nicely. Building nicely. How black is Sam Walsh's ankle going to be, and how many weeks will he miss? I think he'll be straight back. I really do. I think he'll probably be a bit sore, but I suspect we see him straight away. So don't worry, Sky Aster, mate. I know it's worrying sometimes, but I'm confident we'll see him straight back. Dom, is the biggest challenge next week going to be at the selection table? Probably, because if you read the selection report, Martin, Owens, Marchbank could potentially be in contention. PeterV, do you know what I mean? Hewitt, you'd presume as well. So it's going to be a big one. I think PeterV's a lock. That's the only one I really want to see in PeterV, because I think you can really gain that centre clearance advantage against Adelaide with that bigger body and create a bit of threat. So I'm excited about that. But I think there's some great options for Carlton, some great options. Them players we've mentioned, all very good ins, but how you fit them in is hard. So I like what they did this week. I thought the Honey going small forward, medium forward, heavy was a sign that showing no respect. I hope we do that again and don't start to think about clearances and stuff, because the clearances work fine this week. Do you know what I mean? If you can be that dominant from scores. Look at Richmond. They never won the clearance battle in 2017. One of the worst clearance sides. It was their scores from stoppages and scores from clearances that were so key. So for me, yeah, I think it's going to be a risk, and it's going to get harder. It's going to get harder. Nuge, good day, LyndenH. How you doing? Honestly, I'm worried about our list made up, especially against the bottom sides, with players like Plowman, Setterfield, Fisher, O'Brien, Nunes, few others. How can they not play soccer? Surprises me. Can't win a flag with these blokes. Well, I think as for Stocker doesn't really bring anything. If you actually watch him, he plays a Newman, Doc, Saad role in the VFL. He doesn't play back pocket. It's a very defined position back pocket. And really, with the forward lines genuinely being medium tall, it negates what he does. You want him ahead of the ball in the Newman Saad, Doc, Rowe. But as we've discussed earlier in this video, Newman and Doc, Saad way ahead of him, and Newman in himself is a top 20 in the league halfback for his time played there, and he plays 70-30 to the back pocket. So for me, I think you're a little bit harsh and overrating. I think Stocker is a very good footballer, and he's got plenty of room for scope. I don't think he's quite found his position, but he's got a lot of things that I want to see him work on in VFL, and I love Stocker. He's one of my favourites, but there's no point. We're way past the stage now of playing players for the sake. Do you know what I mean? Of what if and find out. For me, he needs to cement it, and when he comes in, he needs to have the tools that can do it. For me, back pocket is a poison chalice, and I don't mind him coming in, but it's not going to do him any good coming in and coming out. So for me, Plowman, it's a medium third tall role. Lockdown role he played this week. Pure lockdown, that's a lot better when he's not the third, when he's the lockdown role. Not many people can do it on our list. Do you know what I mean? There's probably Marchbank, and that's it. If he's going to go that role, if he's going to go with a lockdown and an interceptor, there's only Plowman and potentially Marchbank, but I would then argue the case that Marchbank would be wasted as a pure lockdown. So, interesting. Setterfield was okay this week. Do you know what I mean? He's worked very hard on VFL, and it's something that he's the first VFL player this week who's come into the side and performed as VFL him and really done it. Fisher, I think you're being harsh on Fisher. One of the leading ranked players with kicks to chances created. Very good season from him. O'Brien, you've only got to listen to O'Keefe. Similar. Do you know what I mean? He tracks as an upper echelon, ranked inside the top 15 of wingers, which is very impressive for a long season, having a career best year. Nunes, I'll cop it, but again, he's a squad player. You have squad players in your side. Do you know what I mean? I think I think you've been very harsh. Do you know what I mean? I think you've been very harsh, and I would counter that saying that Carlton are in the 8. So the 22 that's played the majority of the game are obviously almost, worst case, 8th best in their position in the league. Very strong system. It's the system that wins it. It's not the personnel. There is a lot worse players that have won AFL flags than them guys, with worse careers and a statistical output and an actual game level output. So for me, Fisher is best 22, O'Brien is best 22. Setterfield and Plowman, depends with Setterfield, can he keep it up? It's probably one of the few positions at Carlton is anyone's job. So Setterfield or Nunes will take that, because we do need that sweeper wingman. And Plowman, there's a reason Voss keeps picking him. There's a reason that you ask any of the Carlton defenders, they rave about Plowman. It's one of them things, do you know what I mean? Like, all I'm saying, I think you're harsh, but I understand your point, but it's team game. Structure and stuff, mass it. So, I'm happy. Paul, great win by the boys. Love Kerno, hits the man. I love Walsh's game, the heart and soul of our team. You know what? I enjoy this. Let's have a wee look at these guys. Walshy was terrific, wasn't he? 77% game time. He had about 10-15 minutes off with a knock. 31 touches, 74.2 efficiency, because he was a bit more on the ball. 4 marks, 4 inside 50s, 5 rebound 50s, 7 score involvements, 14 ground ball gets. This is an understated rating of his game. How hard and how much of his endeavour. And it's no surprise that the post clearance gets were a lot stronger this week with this guy on the ball. 23 pressure acts, 7 clearances, 313. Absolute terrific game. And my boy Charlie Kerner, 18 touches, 10 marks, 3 contested marks, 4 marks on the lead, 5 inside 50s, 9 score involvements, 4 goals, 6 shots, 66.7% accuracy, the 1 tackle inside 50. Creme de la creme. Creme de la creme, really, isn't it? Absolutely fantastic to see. And long may it continue. And I'm sure you agree. Long may it continue. Rafi, although the effort seemed to be there, I feel like we lacked quite a bit of class and polish in the first half. Is that the case of us needing to add a few more players? Or just needing more time? I just think it's sticking to the plan. The top sides generally don't make it tough like that, take away the space, because they give you opportunity. When you look at that, they were genuinely trying to bog Carlton down. And what is a very good testament, going back to the first question, was good sides find a way. Carlton worked them out very quickly. They really took the game on. They started to really man up around them stoppage and clearances, take the game to them, not be scared to be caught out the back, and ultimately having brazen bows won the game. So for me, I agree with you. There's still a little elements there. It'd be interesting to see what happens when you've got PeterV there, because I think then you bring a bit of thuggery anyway, which I think Carlton struggle with at the moment, a bit of thuggery when it's there. When it's a bit boring, it's a bit tight, I think they struggle, and PeterV's built for that. So I agree with you. Spot on, Raf. Great comment. John S. Automatic selection, the best 22. Is he? Oh, he's going well, isn't he, Cotters? Probably the story of the season. 16 touches, 81 disposal efficiency, 2 inside 50s, 2 tackles, 4 marks, 6 scoring involvements, 2 goals, 13 pressure acts, 217 metres gained, 14.7 kilometres ran. Worked hard at high half forward. And in the second half, switched with Durden, and Durden lived in the forward area. Carlton found something there, because Cotters is so much better with that engine. Works incredibly hard, industrious, and I'm a big, big fan. I am with you, John. I think he is in the best 22 now, and that is fantastic to see. Is there a Gov versus Marchie question? If not, do we play both? And who would you drop? Great question, Sean. Plowman, Setterfield were good today. Chips were down early, as was Gov. Would love Marchbank to return, but who goes out? It's a tough one. I think Plowman is the man that leaves for them. Do I think they can play to? 100% they can. He's a very talented footballer, Marchbank. So Plowman would come out for me in that situation, but we'll come there when it comes. Chris, why does it seem a lot of Carlton fans can't ever be happy? Is it a mental thing? The rest can't enjoy themselves without bringing the club down. Win, it's not enough. We lose, and we have to sell every player. This is a culture thing for me, because it's not... I know Poms are considered whinging, but genuinely, I don't think we shit ourselves as much as I see in AFL. Seems to be an AFL thing. I can't answer it. I can only presume. I think a big part of it is trying to be proved right. I think that's huge. That is a very Australian mentality. Don't be right, be first. That's something that I've seen in my personal reflection of living here for 12 years. I think that's a huge part of it. I think a big part of it is lack of understanding. I think for too long, the AFL is very archaic. So a lot of it comes down to, oh, I saw it, so that's right. When you can't see a role sometimes. Do you know what I mean? It's like data doesn't tell you the full story. Do you know what I mean? So you have to use eyes, but you've got to use both in conjunction with each other to get a story of what you've seen. And I think another part of it is just people like being unhappy. The social media, isn't it, Chris? They like being unhappy. I think that's a big part of it, to be honest. I think that's more of a world scourge thing. It's easier to complain. I do find it funny, though, because if 2 years ago when I was doing this and I was saying sack Teague in 2020, and I was saying sack Teague start of 2021, sack Mark Libbojrjr, he's useless, get rid of him, get a new person. Everyone was saying I was overzealous and I need to ride the system, and now we've switched the other way, so it's a weird thing for me. But there is some good people out there. A lot of people in this channel are brilliant, and they keep me going. And even though there is some, I think it's the loudest voice is like that, Chris. And I assure you, my mental health is good, because if you guys and girls watching these videos, you guys are all troopers, and we may fall out and disagree, but we have some great debate, and it's stimulating, so I love you all. So it's like every family. There's some nuts in everyone, isn't there? Honey, Jordan Anderson. We're giving Honey a few claps. Was seem to have made a big impact in the game he's played. Time to back him for the rest of the season and see what he brings next year. I don't think so. I mean, I think he was probably our best high half forward this week, with the exception of probably Cottrell. I thought he was very good in that. The score involvements were very impressive, 7. And that's what we're looking for. If you remember when we went back, the marks in the league's impressive. 3 marks uncontested, so he's got 3. 14 disposals, 1 goal, 4 shots, and 14 tackles inside 50. I don't think that's right. It's pressure acts, sorry, pressure acts. So read that as pressure acts. 14 pressure acts. Brought the pressure as well. I didn't mind his game. I agree with the last 2 games he's got in, but he's a rhythm player. He was in juniors. High half forward is a rhythm position. It's going to take JSOS a bit of time to get used to it. You've seen JSOS has been slightly down in that avenue where he usually is, because he's having to ruck. So it is a rhythm position. I'm happy. I think Motlop is ahead of him in the development train in drop down in a little bit, and I think Durden, if he didn't kick that goal, would be in that category as well, and I love them both. Durden, obviously a different type of player. Motlop, very similar. So I think it's either or when everyone's fit, but I don't mind it. I don't mind him. I want to see what he brings next week. I'd like to see what he brings next week. I've seen enough, really, to see. Just have a bit of a taste. I thought his working tight was really impressive, particularly for the 2 goals that he helps tee up. That's it then. Thank you very much for tuning in. Brilliant questions as always, guys and girls. Much love. Make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Can't thank you enough. Till next time, Pommy out.